I hope you're ready to be enamored by Enamorus, because we are bringing Enamorus-Incarnate and Ursaluna-Bloodmoon to the Regulation F ranked ladder. What's going on, YouTube? Espresso Shucko here, and today we are bringing Contrary Assault Vested Enamorus to the ladder. So before we jump into some battles, let's quickly go over the team. So Contrary on Enamorus is a fun ability since it inverts stat boosts and stat drops. Intimidate is still pretty prevalent within the meta. Arcanine is all over the place, so is Incineroar. So we might luck out here and get a free +1 into our attack stat from Intimidate. Anything that tries to Intimidate is just going to make Enamorus giggle because it's futile with that Contrary. Enamorus is going to go up that free +1, and plus, if it's a Hisuian Arcanine, they're really not going to appreciate the follow-up with the superpower, because superpower here is now going to be essentially a free bulk up while doing damage by increasing both our attack and our defense stat one stage. And even if we don't run into an Intimidator, that superpower is going to be really appreciated once we land it, because then we go up that free +1 into our attack and defense, and then Enamorus's coverage options are just going to start threatening things relatively quickly. We have Play Rough here to deal with fighting types as well as dragon types. Urshifu Single Strike just absolutely gets decimated by the Play Rough, especially a Choice Banded Single Strike here, because even if they go Tera Dark, well, that +1 Play Rough is going to do major amounts of damage because it still has Stab from Enamorus being a fairy type to begin with. And we run into Urshifu-Rapid Strike. While we click our Tera Water, we resist the Surging Strikes. There's no way our opponent tends to go for a close combat into what normally resists a fighting type attack 4 times with that fairy and flying type, so we can just have a wonderful time dealing with the Rapid Strike and get that initial Tera Water resistance into the Surging Strikes, and then just do major amounts of damage. We have the Iron Head here to hit Fluttermanes, and then we have Zen Headbutt to hit any poison types that we do not like. And the nice thing here too about Tera Water is it does help us resist ice type attacks that are not called Freeze Dry. Now it does leave us a little bit vulnerable to electric types, but we have Ursaluna, who could potentially switch in for Enamorus with its ground normal typing. And on the note of Ursaluna, once we get Trick Room up, we are going to unleash an onslaught of absolute chaos here with Tera Normal boosted Bloodmoon and Hyper Voice. Tera Normal is going to increase Bloodmoon's power from 140 to 280, which makes a little bit of sense why we can't click Bloodmoon consecutively. So if we want to continue that onslaught, we go for Hyper Voice, and then finally we have Earth Power to round out the moveset and just hit things that do not appreciate taking a ground type attack, specifically steel types or electric types. Looking at you, Raging Bolt. Then we have Urshifu-Rapid Strike here with a Choice Band to increase its firepower with Surging Strikes and Close Combat. We have Ice Spinner here for a little bit of tech to remove terrain that we do not want to deal with, especially if our opponent brings a Rillaboom, or if they switch in a Rillaboom and we get the read right. We go for that Ice Spinner, we remove the terrain, and we can go from there. We have U-Turn to pivot out Urshifu as well. And the nice thing here with the U-Turn is if we have Indeedee on the field, we can click Trick Room with the Indeedee, we go for the U-Turn with the Urshifu, we potentially break a Focus Sash on one of our opponents, Ursaluna comes in, Trick Room goes up, and bada bing, bada boom, not a lot of things are going to appreciate that Tera Normal boosted Bloodmoon or Hyper Voice. We have Incineroar here for a little bit of support with Fake Out and Parting Shot. If we know Trick Room is going to end and we're in a little bit of a weird sticky situation with Enamorus, we can always click the Parting Shot to give Enamorus a free +1 that way as well. We have Knock Up here to remove some items, and then we have Flare Blitz to do what Flare Blitz does best and just wither up those grass types. And then finally we have Whimsicott here with Fake Tears to soften things up for Ursaluna, and we have Tailwind to turn on the speed for both Urshifu and Enamorus. So anyways guys, that's the team. Let's jump into some battles. Alright, my opponent here has Entei, Lucario, Tornadus, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Chien-Pao, and Galarian Weezing. Okay, so the question is are we neutralizing gas or are we Misty Surge? Honestly, it's probably neutralizing gas because that's what most Weezings tend to run, but on the off chance that it's Misty Surge, that could be nice because then we could not have to worry about status conditions for anything. Now, Urshifu is going to be really appreciated here. Ursaluna might not be that bad either. Indeedee is still relatively bulky, so we could potentially get our Trick Room off, which could be really nice for Ursaluna. They don't have any ghost types on the field, so I don't have to worry about Bloodmoon just having its ability to hit ghost types with normal and fighting negate it. So that is relatively nice at the end of the day. Maybe we'll go Ursaluna Indeedee, and then that way we can go for heavy hitting Hyper Voices under Trick Room or Bloodmoon. I think we bring Incineroar, and let's bring Enamorus. Now, I do have to make sure that Wheezing is gone, otherwise Contrary is just going to be negated, and then I have to worry about, you know, Superpower, lowering my stats instead of boosting them. Basically, I have to make sure that my gimmick isn't canceled out by their gimmick. But isn't that what all Pokemon is? Just gimmicks canceling out other gimmicks? So, Wheezing and Chien-Pao, alright. The nice thing here is Sword of Ruin is going to be negated. So that's relatively nice at the end of the day. I still like the idea of going for a Hyper Voice and a Trick Room. And then that way, too, if we get our Trick Room off, Ursaluna is going to be faster than everything. And then we can really go for big damage. The Ice Spinner is going to hurt, but I should be alright. Yeah, we're not taking that Sword of Ruin drop. Indeedee does get taunted. Not the best, but we did go for that Hyper Voice, so we're going to get some big damage off. And what we could do is we can go for Protect with the Ursaluna and go for the alluring voice off of Indeedee into the Chien-Pao, and that will get rid of it. Yeah, I like that. And then that way, one of the fastest things on their team is gone, and then that way too, we can just go from there. Probably best if I switch out my Indeedee. Ursaluna is going to be in a relatively hairy position without that Trick Room, so probably best to switch that out. We're not going to pick off the Chien-Pao this turn, but we at least do get to keep Ursaluna around one more turn. It might be best to switch Ursaluna itself out instead, and then that way we don't have to worry about the Chien-Pao. Indeedee is bulky. The poison's a little unfortunate, but I trained this Eevee to be relatively tanky on the physical side, so we should be alright to go up against that Chien-Pao. I do like the idea of bringing in Incineroar for some Fago pressure, and we're going to go for the Alluring Voice into the Chien-Pao and just try to get rid of it. And if they switch it out, great. We'll get a little bit of chip damage into something else. We have Fago pressure with Incineroar. Should be an okay time. Now, if they go for Sacred Sword into my Ursaluna slot, that could be not great. But we got some good damage off, at least with that first initial Hyper Voice. So we should be... Ooh, Throat Chop. Okay. They just saw me do that with Indeedee, though. They probably should have went for the Indeedee, but if they had, then I would have gone into struggle, so best that they didn't. The Will-O-Wisp comes out. It doesn't affect Incineroar. That's great. Good to know that the Wheezing does have the, whatchamacallit? Will-O-Wisp. There we go. Okay, so what I can do here, I fake out you. My taunt is gone. Do I pop the Tera Fairy on Indeedee? Yeah. Do I do it? Or do I just go follow me and Flare Blitz the Lucario? We got 19 seconds. We got Enamorus and a very, very weakened Ursaluna in the back. You know what? Instead of that, what we're going to do, because I'm worried about the Lucario being able to close combat my Incineroar, we're just going to try to get rid of the Wheezing. We're going to save our Tera, and then this way, if they go Taunt with the Wheezing, Incineroar is not going to care. We should be able to get rid of Wheezing at this range with a Flare Blitz. Enamorus can come in, we can pop our Tera, and then that way we can get the Contrary boost back and then just remove it. And I was grossly wrong. That was not enough to take out that Wheezing. So We do get our Citrus Berry. Probably best to pop the Tera Water on my Enamorus. And then that way what we do is we Iron Head the Weezing. And then that way too, we don't have to worry too much about Lucario. The Lucario also did go for close combat, so we know it's got a defense drop. We can switch out Incineroar into Ursaluna. We'll pop our Tera Water and we'll Iron Head this Weezing. We'll just try to get rid of it from there. They're going to withdraw Lucario. That's even better. So we don't have to worry about Incineroar taking a close combat, or rather Ursaluna taking a close combat. And we should be able to get Ursaluna in here in a relatively nice position. We're going to get our Tera Water. That will remove our Poison and our Steel weaknesses. We should get rid of the Weezing here unless they go for a Protect, which the Tera animation does go before that. So we'll find out if they have Protect. If they have Protect, great. Good to know. And then if they don't have Protect, we can just try to deal with it from there. So we're going to get our Iron Head off. We can now superpower the Lucario, get a +1 into our attack and defense. The Assault Vest should help Enamorus. And then that way too, we don't have to worry about Tornadus just absolutely decimating my Enamorus with a special attack. So Ursaluna is a sitting duck without any doubt. On the off chance they double into Enamorus, I'm going to go for the Bloodmoon, and we're going to go for a superpower into the Lucario. We know they have the Protect on Lucario, so at least I think we saw a Protect out there. I might be wrong. But anyways, they're going to go for their Tera, so if it's Lucario, not the end of the world. Tera Normal, even better. Okay. So this is still going to be super effective. They're basically showing off the extreme speed, which I'm not too concerned about. Into Ursaluna. Alright, so not the end of the world. We have Fake Out with Incineroar for the Tornadus. And yeah, that was just a straight KO. Even better. Enamorus is getting +1 into its attack and defense. So now we can hit Tornadus with a Fake Out. If they're Covert Cloak, great. Enamorus will still hit them. So there's a Bleak Wind Storm. Can I get a speed boost? Can I get a speed boost out of this? Okay, evil laugh aside. Yeah, we now have a speed boost. We have a +1. I'm going to Iron Head that Tornadus, and I'm going to Fake It Out. So we'll go for the Fake Out, and we'll go for the Iron Head. And then my opponent forfeits. So we pulled off the Enamorus win right there. That was the main idea with the team, is we get that superpower boost. Now, I didn't bring Whimsicott to this, but I do like going for a fake Tears into Enamorus if I feel especially cheeky, or if I just need to absolutely live something. So I'm very happy with how Enamorus played out there. Good game to my opponent. Okay, my opponent here has Rillaboom, Chien-Pao, Incineroar, Fluttermane, Tornadus, and Raging Bolt. Now, this looks extremely sketchy for Enamorus because my Tera Water on the Enamorus helps with Chien-Pao and Incineroar, but not so much a Raging Bolt or Rillaboom. Yeah, this is a little bit spooky here, but we could always go for a Indeedee switch in with Urshifu, or we could just go Indeedee Urshifu to begin with. We could go for the Ursaluna, potentially get some Trick Room stuff off. We could potentially do that. I do really like bringing Incineroar here for the fake out pressure and the Intimidate drop into either Rillaboom, Chien-Pao, or their Incineroar. The Raging Bolt I'm a little bit concerned about, but this might be an Ursaluna game as opposed to an Enamorus game. Yeah, I think we're going to have to do something like that. So basically here we can go for the Trick Room, get Ursaluna in there, and go for Hyper Voice or Earth Power. If Raging Bolt is on the field, what we could do is we could go Trick Room, Indeedee, U-turn with Urshifu, and then from there get the Psychic Terrain and the Trick Room working in our favor, and we can just try to get rid of the Raging Bolt that way. So we don't have to worry about Fake Out here off of the Incineroar. I still like the Trick Room idea, but I don't like the U-turn as much here. I really want to get rid of their Incineroar. Now, the Raging Bolt is a very good thing that can switch into these. So, maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll actually Ice Spinner the Tornadus. And I'll go for a Trick Room. And then that way... Actually, no. I still think I Surging Strikes. And then that way, too. We can go from there. And I think I go for the Torn instead. They're going to switch out Incineroar, even better. Alright, so who's coming in here? It's Rillaboom. Alright, so they can now go for Fake Out. So, there's the Bleak Wind. Urshifu's going to hold off. That's great. So, we should be able to get rid of the Torn here, unless it's Rocky Helmet. It's not. We're going to get our Trick Room off. So, I think we bring in Incineroar and let Urshifu go down, preserve Indeedee so that we can get rid of the grassy terrain. And then Ursaluna can come in here, we can Tera Normal, and then we can go for either Bloodmoon or Hyper Voice. I do like the little bit of HP that we're getting back too, so that is nice. Yeah, I think that's okay here. I kind of want to get the free switch into my Ursaluna, and then that way we have all the Trick Room turns at our disposal. So, I'm okay taking this for the team with Urshifu. Yeah, I could just do that, and I can just bring in Incineroar and get that that Intimidate support off, and then that way too, I can also go for Fake Out into my opponent. So we'll preserve the Indeedee, we'll lose Urshifu, which will then let us bring in Ursaluna. So we'll trade one bear for another, and then that way we should be okay at the end of the day. And plus, the attack drop into the Rillaboom is going to be nice. So, I mean, that's as blatantly obvious as it gets, but I'm Choice Bandit, so I couldn't protect it. Anyways, the knockoff into my Citrus Berry is a tad disappointing, though. But they can't go for Fake Out into my Incineroar or my Ursaluna, so I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click the Tera Normal button. And I think what I'm going to do is... Oh, I could also Fake Out the Rillaboom instead. Does any other Pokemon appreciate switching into an Earth Power? No, they really don't. I think what we're going to do this turn is we're going to Earth Power and Fake Out. Okay, who's going for the Tera here? Is it Rillaboom or is it... Oh, it's Incineroar. Okay. Tera Grass. Alright, so... They're going to take that no problem. But now I don't feel so conflicted about going for Hyper Voice next turn. Yeah. So they'll take this no problem. But at the same time... Oh, I do lose my Life Orb, but I can go Tera Normal. I can go Tera Normal here. I can Flare Blitz the Rillaboom with my Incineroar, and I can just try to get rid of theirs with a Bloodmoon. Now, my Flare Blitz won't be enough to knock them out, but it should, in the bare minimum, be enough to make life a little uncomfortable for them. I could always go for the Parting Shot, too, but at the same time, I don't really want to bring in Indeedee just yet, because I'd love to know if they have the Raging Bolt or not. If they have the Raging Bolt, I'd rather have my Psychic Terrain for as long as possible, and if I need to reset Trick Room, I can do that too. So, we're going to eat the Grassy Glide, no problem. We'll get a little bit of HP back as well. Hopefully this gets rid of the Incineroar without the Life Orb. So, yeah, we're good there. So, we can protect Ursaluna next turn and either Parting Shot into whatever replaces Incineroar. Now that we've gotten rid of Incineroar as well as the Tornadus... Oh, please burn, please burn. No, we didn't get the burn. Now that we've gotten rid of both the Tornadus and the Incineroar, we can reset our terrain with Indeedee. And I would really like to do that via Parting Shot, and then that way, too, we can get a attack drop into this Raging Bolt. So, we're going to click Protect here. We'll click Parting Shot, and then that way we don't have to worry about any Thunderclap. And then we can get our Psychic Terrain up, and then just try to get rid of that Raging Bolt. So, that should be okay at the end of the day. And plus, we can always go for a Follow Me with Indeedee. We don't necessarily have to go Trick Room right away. So, there's the Thunderclap. It's going to fail. So, we'll get our Parting Shot off into the Raging Bolt, which I definitely like the special attack drop, since Ursaluna is not the most specially defensive. So, we'll get that off, and plus, we can also bring Incineroar back in for Intimidate into the Rillaboom. Because that's the other thing, is Rillaboom here is at -1 attack. I don't get to Fake Out, but that's alright. Incineroar's got some good bulk. We can always go for another Flare Blitz if we need to. That is our Trick Room gone, so I'm going to Hyper Voice, and I'm going to Follow Me. And then that way we get some chip damage off into both of these. We get rid of the Rillaboom, and then it's a 3v1 into the Raging Bolt. So if we lose Ursaluna somehow, if they go for a spread move, well, at least then we can just whittle this thing down. So Indeedee's going to take that no problem. We're going to get our Hyper Voice. And honestly, that's great damage. We can go for the Trick Room, and then that way that'll ensure... Okay, it's leftovers. Alright, so we can go for the Earth Power and the Trick Room, or we could just double up with the Alluring Voice. Offensive Indeedee? Offensive Indeedee. So... nice. Indeedee. Oh, that was a crit. Okay, that explains a lot. But... that's fine. Ursaluna's going to take that thanks to the Parting Shot. We're going to pick up the KO right there. So, Ursaluna, Game 2. That worked out very nice. And Enamorus in Game 1. I'm very happy with how that worked out. So, anyways, good game to my opponent. Hey, thank you guys so much for checking out this Enamorus-Incarnate and Ursaluna-Bloodmoon team. I had a lot of fun filming this one here because we got to pull off both strategies in Game 1 and Game 2. We got to pull off the Enamorus strategy in Game 1 and Ursaluna with the Trick Room in Game 2, which that one especially was a little bit more satisfying to see because we tried to pull it off in Game 1, and unfortunately we just did not. The Galarian Weezing ended up taunting my Indeedee, and Sheen Pao just gave Ursaluna a terrible time with that Ice Spinner. But once that Galarian Weezing was gone, Enamorus was able to go for that superpower into the Tera Normal Lucario. And honestly, thinking back on it, I think that Lucario was Choice Banded. I might have said that we saw Protect on the Lucario, but I don't quite remember. But anyways, what we did see was we did see them go for a close combat into Indeedee, and then the following turn they switched out, which that would definitely make a little bit more sense if they were choice locked and they didn't want to deal with Enamorus for the late game with being locked into close combat. So that would definitely make a lot more sense, but that also made more sense too why there was no Focus Sash and we just one-shot it. And then my opponent just really did not want to deal with the Fake Out and the +1 Iron Headed that was locked and loaded for their Tornadus. And then in Game 2, it did suck that we had to sacrifice Urshifu, but Indeedee and Incineroar just made more than enough effort to support the Ursaluna, and we got to pull off major amounts of damage with the Ursaluna. I probably should have seen the Terra Grass coming off the Incineroar, So we probably could have gotten away with going for a Bloodmoon or a Hyper Voice into it instead of going for the Earth Power. But the nice thing here too was we did have that Fake Out support with our Incineroar. We also had the Intimidate drops into both their Incineroar and their Rillaboom, so that was a nice thing here. And once we got both their Tornadus and their Incineroar off the field, that made it so that they couldn't reset the grassy terrain with their Rillaboom. Indeedee came back, set up the Psychic terrain, and then that way we were just able to handle the Raging Bolt relatively nicely in the end game. Now, one thing I was thinking about for the team is that I was kind of debating on switching Indeedee out for Farigiraf, and there is some pros and cons to that. The main pros here is Farigiraf is more offensively oriented than Indeedee, so that would add a little bit of extra balance to the team for some more offensive presence with the special attacking side, because right now it's kind of just Ursaluna. So that would make Fake Tears go a little bit a longer way with Whimsicott, and then we would also still have Trick Room with Farigiraf, but the one con would be is we would lose out on the redirection support with Follow Me by benching Indeedee and putting Farigiraf in its place. Anyways, let me know what you think of the team down in the comments below, and I'll see you there.